Okay, yeah, let me just test out audio real quickly just to make sure that nothing is bugging or whatever. So, sorry, just give me a quick second and then we can get started. Okay, oh boy, don't do that. Okay, yeah, should be fine. Okay, should be fine. Surprisingly, the first time where the BGM and the volume and everything is fine. So, yeah, welcome to the first move in the Palming Livestream series. Yay, because we were done with the color change series last month with the Erdnase change. Now we can move on to the palms. So we're starting off with something that's relatively simple, but it'll still get you to start practicing with palming in your left hand. Because I know that some of you guys neglect palming in your left hand because you guys are like, oh, I don't really have a reason to palm with my left hand because, well, all my right hand does most of the work. And it's true because, well, for example, a very popular palm that most of you guys will probably do is the one hand top palm, in which case it palms the top card with your right hand as well. But I much prefer actually palming with my left hand because there's actually a huge amount of advantages with the with palming in your left hand, mainly because you hold the deck in your left hand. And by holding the deck in your left hand, what this means is that, well, you have all the cover that you need. Oh man, this deck is clumpy. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. What this means is that with the deck actually hiding the palm card, you have additional cover for your for the palm, just like so. If my camera will focus, there we go, like so, right? So now you have additional cover with the deck on top, and that's one of the advantages that you get with a left hand palm, which you don't get with a right hand palm because usually the right hand is in a biddle grip, which means that it's the right hand that's on top of the deck rather than underneath of it. So there's not really any cover for the palm card besides just your hand, right? Versus having the deck covering everything. So, yeah. This will be something that's relatively simple, and it is, as the title suggests, the Loewy palm. But without further ado, let's get into the history section of the video. So, as the name implies, this comes from, well, a certain Professor Morris Loewy. Fun fact, he's not even like a professor. Apparently, he sort of gave himself the title, which is like, okay, that's kind of you know, but it's whatever because he self-recognizes himself as a well, professional like card handler because he only does sleight of hand with cards, so he doesn't use any gimmicks. As far as I know, he does pretty much everything with just pure sleight of hand with cards. So the first time that this move has actually been put into publication is in Greater Magic back in 1938 in John Northern Hilliard's, by John Northern Hilliard. So that's a very popular move, and that was described as the top card with left hand only. And it was, credited to Professor Morris Loewy. Fun fact, it was actually spelled L-O-W-E-Y rather than the more commonly spelled, more common spelling of Loewy, which is L-O-E-W-I. So there is I'm not even sure if that's a misspelling or we just sort of distorted it throughout history, but it does have a different spelling from what I and what other people know it as nowadays. The second time that it has been published is an Expert Card Technique. I know, a surprise, Expert Card Technique. So that is published in 1940 by Jean Hugard and Frederick Browy, and it was known as the Hugard Top Palm. What's interesting is that, well, Jean Hugard actually claims that, no, it's my move. But in the footnote of Card College Volume 3, which is in 1998, I believe, it was revealed that even though Hugard claimed the move, Dai Vernon was like, no, Morris Loewy create this move first. So is it Jean Hugard or is it Frederick, or is it Morris Loewy or is it Jean Hugard who created the move first? Well, there's no denying that both are really, really competent sleight of hand people, but Morris Loewy sort of predates Jean Hugard by about 14 years, and he started his magic career at 8 years old. So, I mean, and also Gene Regard's crediting work is not flawless. There's definitely a lot of flaws with how he credits his work, especially in expert card technique. Like there's 8 credited entries in expert card technique, which tells you pretty much everything about his crediting skills. So this is probably likely a Morris Loewy move. And then Marlowe came along and then refined the move in Future Classic Palm that he published in the New Classic back in 1953 by, well, Ed Marlowe himself. And so that's the general gist of the history section. It's a lot more streamlined than anything else that you're used to, because any color change back then was just an amalgamation of everything. But palming, it's palming, so it's very, very straightforward. So yeah. So just as a couple of prerequisites that I'd like to point out, first is that you should have probably watched the Classic Palm and Variations video. I mentioned that, this next series is going to be about palming, so you should probably watch like the video on Classic Palms. If you don't, then that's fine, because I'm still going to briefly go over them, but if you want the most amount of detail, you should go over there. And you should also watch the Guide to Grips video, because you don't really use any conventional dealer's grips in this sort of palming, in this sort of palm. So I highly recommend you check that out as well. Mainly just the section on modified dealer's grip adjusted for like palming. That's the only section that you really need to know. But without further ado, let's get into the original handling of the Loewy palm. So what I'm actually going to do is that I'm actually going to describe the original Loewy palm from Greater Magic. So I'll say it straight up, I actually don't like this handling, mainly because there's actually a pretty significant grip change. And one thing that you'll realize throughout my my Magic and technique is that I really don't like grip changes, especially if you have to shift it up from different moves and then whatever, right? It's such a slight thing, but I personally hate grip changes. It is such a disgusting thing, because it's like, why would you need to shift the deck around to do one thing and then you have to shift the deck around? I don't know. I just prefer everything to be done in this one grip. All right. Thank you for the live stream. Yeah, thank you for joining, and thank you for hanging out. So yeah, I really appreciate it. But yeah, so one thing that you'll notice throughout my technique is that I'll modify moves specifically so then they can be done in a normal or near regular dealer's grip. And this one particular handling, this one original handling for the Loewy palm, is far from it. So I'll just describe the technique so then you can tell why I don't really like it. So you're going to have to modify your dealer's grip. This is the original dealer's grip. You're going to have to shift the entire deck upwards, just like so. So how you actually modify it is that you want the bottom left corner of the deck to actually be near the thumb crotch. So it's around here, the thumb crotch over here. And then you want your middle finger and index finger, your left index and your left middle finger, to be near the bottom right corner of the deck. So you'll notice that they're pretty much wrapped around the deck, just like so. All right, so they're not really, the middle finger doesn't have to be contacting directly on the corner. It can be, but generally I place it a bit higher up, just like so. The middle and the ring finger and your pinky are just sort of just hanging out there. They're relaxed. They're not really doing anything. And this should be the grip that you're in. If it seems kind of familiar, it really is, because this is sort of the grip that you go into when you do a card fan, which I can't do with this deck, so I'll just do it with this deck, right? So this elevated dealer's grip, forward dealer's grip, is sort of similar to how you would actually hold a deck when you do a thumb fan. Except that now you're not doing a thumb fan, you're doing it for a palm, which is not something that I necessarily prefer. All right. So, yeah, anyways, what you're going to do now is, now that you're in this grip, your thumb is going to be extended and it's going to be contacting the center of the card. If you're using a bicycle deck, the center of the deck is going to be easy to find because, well, you have this little circle over here that will indicate the center of the card. But oh yes, hello, how's it going? But if you have any other deck, then you basically just have to use like intuition to find the center. So generally, if you're using like a deck of streamlines, then the center should be around here. All right. So your thumb should be contacting the center of the deck just like so. So the pad of your thumb, rather. And it's not even applying any significant amount of pressure. It's just contacting there because, again, I like my my card handling to be very, very soft. So everything should be done with pure friction only. So now you'll notice that because this deck is at the thumb crotch, you can actually use it as a pivot point for everything that's about to happen. So now if you just move your thumb downwards and to the left, it'll use the thumb crotch as a pivot point, and you can have this card revolve around this thumb crotch. So you're going to slide this card down until you can actually just extend your middle and index finger. So by extension, you're actually just going to clip the deck with your index. So you can see that you're actually flattening out your index finger until you can clip the deck with your thumb and your index finger. So you're going to extend your index finger and your middle finger until it can actually wrap around the short edge of this card over here. All right. So it's going to pivot off the face of the deck until you can extend your index and your middle finger to wrap around the short edge of the deck over here. And so now it's basically already halfway into palm. All you need to do now is to extend your ring finger and your pinky finger to wrap around the card as well. All right. And yeah, that's basically the palm. Except that you really, again, you sort of end up with this very, very ugly palm, right? So to complete the palm, what you're going to do is you just need to extract the deck. To extract the deck, it's pretty simple. The book doesn't really tell you how to extract the deck, but one simple method that you can do to extract the deck is you can have your right hand palm down, your thumb grabs the top of the deck, and your index, middle ring, and pinky finger grab the bottom of the deck as it just takes away the deck and places it on the table face up. All right, so it just lays it down. And as the deck is being taken away, you're going to apply a bit more pressure to bend the card into your palm. All right, so this happens as you take the deck away. You apply more pressure, and then you could go into this Guy Hollingworth-esque position for your palm. All right, so that is the general gist for the Loewy palm as described in Greater Magic. So yeah, it's an interesting move because, well, you just slide the card into palm, and then you just remove the deck. Because usually for left-hand palms, what's really interesting about left-hand palms is you actually palm the bottom few cards. Left-hand palms are usually bottom palms. But for this one in particular, you're actually palming the top card. And that's what makes the Loewy palm in particular pretty unique. But yeah, but one thing that the book actually suggests as well is that once the card is in a full palm, you actually just relax your hand, and that's that. You just let it drop off to your side and just relax. So that's something that that the book suggests you to do because close-up magic, especially at the table, I guess was pretty rare back then. So I assume that Maurice Loewy was actually performing it standing around, right? So he would have like he would be standing around and not be at the table like so. So he would just execute the palm. Oops, sorry, I'm not used to this position. So he would just execute the palm and then just let the card, just let his hand with the palm card just drop to his side in a moment of relaxation. So that's something that the book recommends as well. So now that we're done with the original handling of the Loewy palm, we can go into the future classic palm, which is from Marlowe. So this has the same general mechanics as the standard Loewy palm, but there are a couple of key differences which I think make this a lot better. So you're going to start off in an elevated dealer's grip. You're going to have the deck in a dealer's grip modified for the palms. All right. So in case you don't know what that is, if you have a card palmed in your hand, if you just shift the deck upwards and then grab it in a dealer's grip like so, and then place the rest of the deck on top, that's the position that you want the deck to be in when you have a bottom palm or anything like that. So this is the this is the grip in particular that you want the deck to be in, and you'll notice that it's a lot better, and it looks a lot more like a standard dealer's grip compared to this elevated grip that you see from Morris Loewy. So this is just a slight shift. You can get into it with one hand easily, or again, you could just do like a spread, and then in the squaring action, you could just go into this elevated dealer's grip for palming. All right. So what you're going to do now is, well, it's the same general mechanics. So now that you're in position, now that you're in a dealer's grip, you're just going to contact the center of the deck with your thumb, just like so. You're going to have it actually extended, and again, it'll look very, very similar to the original Loewy palm. But, and again, you're going to use the fat of your thumb as a pivot point again. So no differences there. So you're going to pivot the card once again using the fat of your thumb as a pivot point. But now, rather than extending your index or your middle finger to wrap around the card to palm the card, you're going to extend your ring finger. So you're going to extend your ring finger until it can actually contact the top right corner of the card, just like so. And then you could just apply a slight bit of pressure, and then you have the card in basically a classic palm already. Not really a classic palm as you know it. That's why Ed Marlowe actually calls it the future classic palm, because it's different, but having it in this position means that you don't have to have the deck elevated up and then shift it all the way down to have your index finger contact it. This means that you can just rotate the card until you're in a position to just extend your ring finger and contact it like so. All right. So now you can just remove the deck as per usual. And as you remove the deck, you just apply more pressure with your ring finger and have the card go into a classic palm or a modified classic palm. So here it's your ring finger and the fat of your thumb are applying diagonal pressure on the card, just like so, while the rest of the fingers just sort of curl in around of the card like so. So you'll notice that there's a lot of windows with this classic palm in particular, but that's fine, because if you actually have the back of your hand and more or less the index and the ring finger sort of aimed directly at the eyesight of the spectator, they won't really see anything. With your thumb, you're also going to actually just lay on top of this corner over here. So then it looks like just like a relaxed hand. So if you notice, if you just have a normal like hand that's not really doing anything, and you just relax it, it'll tend to go in this position. This is what this palm in particular is meant to emulate. If you just curl in all your fingers and have your thumb on top, this looks the exact same. So this is what this palm is meant to emulate. So yeah, I bent this card to hell. So yeah, that's the future classic palm by Ed Marlowe. And again, I'm just going through I'm going through these two relatively quickly because, well, I'm going in more detail with the finesse that I'm going to be teaching you next. So I'll be teaching the move with my own touches in this next section, and I decided to teach this last mainly because this is sort of a combination between the last two palms with some additional touches as well. So you're going to have the deck held in a dealer's grip adjusted for palming as like the Ed Marlowe one. And now you're going to be contacting the area near the left long edge of the deck. So around here, around the border of the card, if you actually have a border, or if you don't have a borderless card, if you're using a borderless deck, then just know it's around this area over here. All right, so just fully extend your thumb and just contact the area closest to the left long edge of the deck, just like so. So I'll explain why later on, but this is the area that you should be contacting, right? And again, this is just a simple contact. There's no pressure or anything. It's just pure friction that will let the move work. So once you're here, what you're going to be doing is that now you're going to be using the base of your thumb as a pivot point, just like the previous moves, all right? So you're going to rotate your thumb to the left and downwards and slide the card to the left, again, using this fat of your thumb as a pivot point. You're going to slide this card around until you can actually extend your ring finger and wrap the tip of your ring finger around the short edge of the deck, just of the card, just like so. So instead of contacting the corner, just like the Marlowe Future Classic Palm, you're going to be contacting it a bit later on. So again, it's going to be close to the corner, but not quite. All right. So now that you have this, well, you're basically set. You can just start removing the deck. And as you remove the deck, the other fingers are just going to relax. They're going to relax, and then you'll notice that the middle finger is now protruding outwards. And as the fingers relax, they're just going to curl in and place the card in a classic palm. So this is the modified classic palm that I use. So it's just a standard classic palm, but rather than your pinky applying diagonal pressure to the fat of the thumb, it's actually your ring finger applying pressure to the fat of your thumb, like so. So yeah, that's basically it. You're just going to shift the card around until your ring finger can reach around, grab the card, apply a bit of pressure, and then you can just remove the card as you apply more pressure to close the card into a classic palm, just like so. All right. So that is the finessed classic palm. All right. Yeah, I might be going a bit too fast. I don't know. I'll have to review the live stream to see if I'm actually going too fast or if I'm missing too many details. But all of these mechanics actually just stem from a simple push off and then moving your fingers around to just grab the card. Like there's really not much to this move, because you're just rotating a card until you can just put it into a palm and then removing the deck, if that sort of makes sense. So yeah, that's my finesse on the Loewy palm. The main differences are, well, the thumb is contacting the area near the left long edge rather than the center of the deck, and it's also being palmed in the area near the corner rather than directly on the corner. So that's the main differences between the Marlowe Future Classic Palm and the original Loewy palm. So what's different about the original versus mine? So there's no drastic grip changes. So in the original one, you had to shift the entire deck upwards to execute the Loewy palm. Here, you can just just do a simple, just shift upwards, and then you could get into a Loewy palm. So you don't have to do any drastic grip changes. The other thing is that your thumb actually contacts the left long edge of the deck, because if you have a shorter thumb or a smaller hand, you don't need to rotate your thumb an ungodly amount for the palm to work. Because if you actually notice, if you start off the palm here at a 45-degree angle, you will basically have to rotate your thumb until it's at a 90-degree angle for the palm to work. But here, if you start off straight, you just need to rotate it like about 45, and then you could just palm the card. So you don't have to bend your thumb uncomfortably to palm the card. Here, you can just rotate the card, rotate your thumb very, very comfortably, and then palm the card. That's one of the reasons why my thumb is over here, because I was struggling to push this card over here, and this hurt my thumb. So I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm not gonna do this. So I decided to move my thumb over here, just so then it is more comfortable. There's also a mechanical reason as to why it's over here, but I'll go over that later on. I also only use my ring finger during the initial palming action. So for the original Loewy palm, yeah, you have to use your index and your ring finger. You have to use your index and your middle finger to wrap around the card, and then your ring finger, and then your pinky finger. So it's a lot of motion. But if you just do your ring finger around here, and then you fully palm the card as you take the deck away, that is going to reduce the amount of weird wrapping into it, right? So if you just do this, and then you take the deck away, then that's significantly less, I think, personally. But again, this is magic. It's all personal touches. So yeah. So if you need any ideas for how to remove the deck from the palm, there are two main handlings as to how you actually do this. So one is, once you have the card in a palm, you have your right hand palm down with your thumb on top and your fingers on the bottom. Here, the main action that you're actually going to do is you're going to take the deck away. So you're going to slide the deck forward, and then you're going to unbend your wrist, so then it places the deck upwards, like so. All right, so there are two handlings for this. One is you just place it on the table, or two, you can actually just flip the deck on top of itself. So it just goes like here, and then it lies on top of the index where it can be pinched by the thumb. So now you have cover for the Loewy palm, just like so. All right, so then you can spread or whatever, and then you can't even see the palm card. So it's just over here. All right. The second method of removing the deck is you actually just clip the deck over here with your middle ring and pinky finger on the bottom, like so, and your index on top. So what this means is that now, when you move the deck forward, so now what this means is that when you move the deck forward, the moment you expose this back short edge over here, your thumb can just curl in and contact this back edge over here, which means that you're in a bill grip now. So if you're in a bill grip, this means that you can do a couple of things. This means that you can place the deck on the table, or you can just spread it out, or once you have the deck in a bill grip, you can just sort of dribble it on the table or into your hand if you want to do like a control or whatever. So you can just dribble it and then just relax. So that is another thing that you can do. Just go into a right hand biddle grip. So those are the two methods of removing the deck from out of your palm. All right, just like so. So what's really interesting is that you can also use this move as a multiple card palm. I believe Cliff Green has a method. I believe Larry Jennings also has a method, but mine uses something that's different. So get a pinky break under the amount of cards that you want. I'll actually use all the 4 aces just so then, well, hold up, all the queens are together, so I might as well use them. So all the queens are together. Sorry, I missed one. There we go. So we have 4 cards on top of the deck that you want to palm. You're just going to get a pinky break underneath of the 4 cards. For example, you can also palm like 2 or 3. It doesn't really matter. So now that you have your 4 cards in above of a pinky break, what you're going to do now is you have the deck shifted up into position for the Loewy palm. If my camera would focus, there we go. So now what you're going to do is you're going to execute a block push off. So what a block push off is, you're basically contacting these 4 cards by the left long edge. So you're going to move your thumb just slightly to the left until it's contacting the left long edge of the deck over here. And because these cards are separated by a break, what this means is that your thumb will have an easier time to contact these 4 cards because there is a separation from these 4 cards and the rest of the deck over here. So I'll try and get it. So it's a very slight separation. So it's about this over here. That's what your thumb is looking for. So when the moment your thumb actually applies or contacts these 4 cards from the left long edge over here, when you actually move this thumb, this allows this block, and this allows everything above of the pinky break to actually move as a unit. So this might be a bit harder on newer decks, but if you're actually using an older deck like this, then the block push off will be a lot easier. So now that you're moving all these 4 cards as a unit, and again, it doesn't have to be perfectly squared, it can be slightly fanned out like so, it doesn't really matter. So now that you have these cards in a unit, you can just move these 4 cards into position for a Loewy palm, extend your ring finger to palm these 4 cards, and then you could take away the deck, and then you have these 4 cards palmed in your left hand. So that's something that you can do with the Loewy palm. You can do it as a multiple card palm, which is something that most people actually don't know. They mainly use it as a 1 card palm, but using the block push off, which is something that the Elms account uses as well, you can use it as a multiple card palm, which is nice to know. Sorry, let me just shuffle these cards up because they're getting way too bent. Oh, sorry. Whatever. So now we can move into the application section of the Loewy palm. So there are a couple of applications. One is actually a breast pocket load. Greater Magic actually tells you to use it as a breast pocket load. So shirts really don't have this these days. Yeah, I don't even have one over here. Sorry, let me. So a breast pocket, if you don't know what it is, if you just wear t-shirts or whatever, so usually you would have a pocket around this the breast area over here, right? So that would be the area where you would be able to load a card, because Greater Magic tells you that once you have a card in a Loewy palm, you actually continue a right hand, you actually continue your motion to the right. So the whole motivation is you're moving this deck to your right hand as you execute the Loewy palm. So you're making the deck reach for your right hand rather than the right hand reach for the deck hand. So you're going to move to the right hand and you're going to grab the deck. But as you grab the deck away, your left hand is going to continue this right hand motion and it's going to reach for your breast pocket, your right breast pocket, and then it can just load this card in. So that's the entire sequence. So you just have the card, you have it palmed, and then you continue, and then you just load it in. So that's something that the book recommends you to do. Not a lot of people actually have breast pockets these days, and most people actually perform in t-shirts, so or hoodies. So it is sort of an outdated handling. But if you find yourself in any situation where you can actually just load the card in a breast pocket, then you should do that, right? Because, well, the breast pocket is in full view this entire time, so, you know, the fact that you can magically have a card jump from the deck to your breast pocket, which is in full view all this time again, is a pretty strong thing. So that's something that you can do as well. The other thing that you can do is a color change on top of the deck. So if you have, oh man, this deck is so clumpy. So you have a double on top of the deck, like so. What you can do is that if you have the deck in a modified dealer's grip in preparation for the Loewy palm, if you just tilt the deck backwards, so you necktie the deck until they can only see the front edge of the deck. So this is what the spectator sees. So if they can only see this, and you execute the Loewy palm, and then you place the deck down, it'll look like a color change. But in reality, you have a card palmed. So just so then we're all clear, you have the card on top, you have a double on top. Here, you cock your wrist backwards until they can't see the face of the deck. You palm off the card, and then you place the deck down. And it seems like the card has changed, but in reality, you just have a card palmed. And what's great is that all their attention will be on the moving object, because you have this, and you're actually moving the deck closer to them. So their eyes will be naturally drawn to the object closest to them, which in this case would be the deck. But in reality, you have a dirty card in your hand right here. So that's something that you can do, a color change. And naturally, if you can do things as a color change, you can do them as a vanish. So you have a card on top of the deck like so, and you do a Loewy palm. As you just spread the deck or whatever, here it looks like it just vanishes. But in reality, again, you just palmed the card. Another thing is that if you do the Loewy palm from a dribble or whatever, here, or rather, if you have a card selected from a dribble or whatever, here, here your card is a Queen of Spades rather. Here, when you actually place this packet on top of the other half of the deck, you actually execute a Loewy palm. So now you have a center palm. So you don't have to necessarily palm the card on top of the deck. You can palm cards from the center of the deck, just like so. So that's something else that you can do. It's just the exact same thing as the standard Loewy palm. You just have the card rotated into position. You slap the rest of the deck on top, trapping this card in position, and then you just take the pack away. All right, so that's something you can do. This is a center palm. But you might notice that if you can do a Loewy palm from about half a deck, this means that you can do a Loewy palm from a smaller packet. So if you have a packet of 4 cards, then, for example, if you want to do like a vanish from this packet, you can just palm this card away, and then you could just display it and then just have it, vanish or whatever. So you can do that. So you can do a Loewy palm from a small packet of cards as well. And again, this is important because, well, you don't need to apply any sort of pressure. It's actually even worse if you apply any sort of pressure for a Loewy palm in a small packet of cards, because if you actually apply if you actually apply pressure on a small packet of cards, look at what happens. This fans, and you don't want that to happen. So again, for the sake of mechanics, for the sake of this one particular application, you want your Loewy palm to be only functioning off of friction, no pressure at all. You're just doing friction, and this will let you peel off one card only, and then you could just put into a Loewy palm, and that's it. Right? So a palm from a small packet is something that you can do. So for example, you're doing a build trick, right? Oh yeah, none of these are your card or whatever, and then you could just do a Loewy palm, have them place their hand on top as you, I don't know, load this card in. That's just a random idea that I thought up of right now. So yeah, you can do a whole bunch of things with the Loewy palm. The other thing they can do is a free-handed color change. So it doesn't have to be on top of the deck. If you actually have a double in your left hand, like so, under the guise of seemingly dealing this card on the table, execute a Loewy palm, and then just deal this card onto the table, like so. So that's another color change that you can do. Again, I'm just trying to brute force applications. You don't have to actually use these. I'm just tossing out ideas because that's fun. And then the last application they can do for the Loewy palm is as a reverse. So if you have the card over, if you wanna reverse, like for example the Ace of Spades, which I'll place on top of the deck just like so. If you want to reverse this card, all you need to do is do a Loewy palm, rotate the deck around on top of it. So now that's the first method of removing the deck that I taught. You're going to unload this card by just relaxing this palm, allowing this card to unbend. If this would focus, allowing this card to unbend, and now your right hand comes over, grabs the deck in the billow grip, and then you could just rotate this card by just, oh my god, please just focus. You know, and now you can just rotate this card in place by just cocking your wrist back until this card is flush with the bottom of the deck. So it just goes like this. So now it is flush against the bottom of the deck, and you have a card reversed on the bottom of the deck, just like so. And to have this card just moved elsewhere, you can just do a simple cut, or alternatively, you can just spread through the deck, just have them look through, and you can execute a reverse cull, which I'm not going to teach, but this allows you to displace the bottom card into the center of the deck. So that is another idea that you can do. It is a reverse, which I think is pretty cool, but I do prefer more streamlined reverses than a palm and then a replacement and then a reverse cull. So this is a long process, so I wouldn't recommend this reverse, but again, I'm just tossing out ideas over there. Oh man, that was it. That actually went on for longer than I thought, because when I actually lectured the Loewy palm for the Thankmas lecture, it was actually cut pretty short. So I'm actually surprised I actually managed to fill in this much time. Surprisingly enough, I'm not sure if I actually explained anything correctly today. I'm tired from work, so but yeah, I'm gonna have to review all the footage and maybe refilm a couple of things for the video release, but it do be like that sometimes. But anyways, if you're interested in the Loewy palm, there are a couple of resources that I can point you towards that are still in print. So Expert Card Technique by Gino Gard and Frederick Browy. Again, it's the Hugard top palm is over there, so yeah, you can sort of see where the Loewy palm and where the Hugard top palm sort of diverge. They are pretty much the exact same with a couple of differences, very subtle differences, but they are there. You can also learn the move in Card Control by Arthur Buckley. So, surprise, I know. I actually first learned this move in Card Control, I think. It's actually really interesting that this move has been published in basically all the common Magic books. That's something that's pretty interesting. You can also learn this move in Marlowe The Final Cut by Ed Marlowe. So that's the final Marlowe compilation trilogy. So if you don't know, magicians have been trying to compile all of Ed Marlowe's work into like books. So there was revolutionary card technique, there was cardially yours, and then the final book, which is Marlowe the Final Cut. So there's these 3 volumes, but the future classic palm is in the 3rd book. By Forces Unseen by Ernest Eric, that's where you can sort of see the future classic palm as well. Ernest Eric actually really loves this position as well. There's also The Art of Palming by Ben Earl. There he goes over the Loewy palm, I believe. There's Ephemera by Dennis Kim. You'll also see this position a lot as well. I'm not the biggest fan of this position, mainly because this corner just sticks out for me. So that's why I actually use this position. But you'll find a lot of people and a lot of professional performing magicians will use this palm as well. So even though it looks really ugly, this move is actually pretty good, as you can probably see from a lot of professional magicians. There's Card College Volume 3. That's where Roberto Giobbi actually teaches the Loewy palm. There's Distilled by Ryan Plunkett. So yeah, he uses a Loewy palm for a specific effect as well. So go ahead and check those sources out. So yeah, I actually originally wanted to teach the side still this month, but decided against it because man. Yeah, I'm just gonna save that for next month, because man, I'm not exactly the most side steal centered person. So yeah, but anyways, the Loewy palm is a very, very good palm. You don't really see it on social media, but just from the amount of, again, working and professional magicians that use this palm, you can see that it is a very good palm. And it's just interesting to sort of see that it's been published in Expert Card Technique, it's been published in Card Control, which are 2 of the most popular and cheapest beginner magic books. They're sort of hard, I would say, but they're all over there, and yet they've been pretty much neglected, especially by the newer generation, for quite a while now. So yeah, I'm just happy to sort of bring this move back to light, to a different audience, because you guys should know about this palm, because it is a damn good palm. But yeah, I'm gonna have to check if any of the explanation is good, just to make sure that it's not like a mess or whatever. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me, and yeah, stay healthy, stay safe, and see you guys next time, if I'm not a total mess and if I'm not like tired from work or whatever. But yeah, all right.